Hello everyone and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this from Mr. Man. So the BIS posted about the DC FinTech Week. Look at the participants. To my knowledge, Ripple works with every single participant shown. Bitstamp and Robinhood and Ripple, Ripple and Citi, Chainlink and RLUSD, Ondo Finance and the XRP Ledger. And Gibson Dunn Legal has followed Ripple's case from the beginning. You know, when you see all of these names coming together, and it's all tied in with the BIS, who has done multiple white papers that include RippleNet technology and XRP. You know XRP is the future. I don't understand why everybody worries about the price of XRP on a daily basis. We already know where it's going to go from here. All you got to do is stay patient long enough until it happens. This comes from Smoke. September 2025 FMSB report finds 95% of cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, lack underlying value and depend on market sentiment. That's what's going on with Bitcoin. It's like they have a marketing team that's out there marketing all day long, hyping up Bitcoin all over the mainstream media news. Every chance they get, they have to talk about Bitcoin. In fact, the only thing holding up Bitcoin's price right now is more and more Tether. But nobody ever wants to talk about that. They always try to make you think that it's going to get mainstream adoption. Every single person's going to eventually be transacting in Bitcoin. And that's just not the case. But every once in a while, an article or a study comes out like this, and it shows that they don't actually have any real value. This comes from Eleanor Tourette. Looks like the House formally sent the Clarity Act to the Senate last Thursday, where it was referred to the banking GOP. It comes after the House voted to retroactively combine GOP Majority Whip's anti-CBDC bill into Clarity last week. Again, nothing major, just part of the process, as the Senate is set to consider the bill alongside its own draft. At least they're getting something done, because usually nothing happens in Washington. But once they get the Clarity Act put into place, that's also going to really push the price of these utility-driven cryptocurrencies, and at the same time, it's going to make Bitcoin less relevant. People don't realize what's going to happen yet, but it's plain as day. The future is just not Bitcoin. And right now, the reason they're hyping it up is because these big bag holders want to bail out. Wisdom Tree says there will be a supply shock for XRP before Bitcoin. And you know, that was always the main use case. There's so little Bitcoin. If everybody was to buy Bitcoin, the price would absolutely go to $1 million plus. But scarcity really is not a use case. But XRP is going to experience scarcity on top of being packed with utility and real-world use case. That's why I think XRP, once it finally sees scarcity and demand is still rising, we are going to see some crazy prices for this cryptocurrency. All those naysayers that always told people for years XRP is never going above $10, they're all about to find out. Just wait until it goes above $100. I'm telling you, the crypto space, it is going to be absolutely crazy. People are going to be absolutely shocked by XRP. And I think it's going to happen over the coming months. This guy just summed up crypto for the last decade. Take a listen to this, because everybody always talks about the price of XRP being down. Why is BlackRock not talking about XRP? Take a listen to this.
What I think people are missing is that when you are very, very serious about accumulating an asset, if I'm a buyer of something, I don't announce to the world I'm going to buy it. I buy it and then I announce it. And so that's key. That's the difference. And that I think a lot of people are missing. And I think there's a very strong chance that that's what's happening here. And so
And that's what they think is happening with XRP. That's why BlackRock doesn't talk about XRP. That's why JP Morgan doesn't talk about XRP. Because in the background, they are still accumulating this cryptocurrency. Once they feel they have enough, all of a sudden, the narrative will shift. And then they'll start talking about XRP the way they talk about Bitcoin. This also comes from Smoke. Barclays report confirms November 2025 ISO 222 deadline is key to crypto integration into global payments. SWIFT is expecting 91% of financial institutions to be ready for the November 2025 deadline. ISO's richer data model will be critical for conversion between digital and fiat assets. The November 2025 ISO 222 deadline, therefore, is not the end of the transformation of the payments industry, but the beginning. It is a facilitator for innovations across instant payments, APIs, open banking, and digital assets. ISO is going to play a factor on a handful of cryptocurrencies. I think we're going to see some value early on, but I think it's going to be gradual value month over month. We're going to see XDC and XLM and QNT and XRP and HBAR, IOTA, Algo start to see some price appreciation. I think that could come through ISO 222. Bitcoin's price prediction. When will this drop stop? So they're talking about the recent drop on Bitcoin. But here, finally, there's an article that tells the truth. And here's the uncomfortable truth. We can't predict with certainty when this drop is going to stop. Bitcoin has a way of flipping expectations, whether that means breaking lower to sweep liquidity or surprising everyone with a sharp reversal. Both scenarios are possible, and neither is guaranteed. If you're in this market, the key is flexibility. Don't marry a bias, because Bitcoin definitely won't marry yours. What they're saying is nobody could call this market 100%. Finally, an article actually tells the truth, because I've said it countless times. You know, one day I look at the chart and I'm like, wow, this looks really bullish. Looks like XRP could break out from here. Then what happens? Some real world event happens, and XRP and Bitcoin and the rest of the market start coming down. Then all of a sudden it starts building back up again. Everything looks great again, like this could be the moment we've been waiting for. Then all of a sudden a major sell-off happens and the whole market comes back down. So anytime that you look at the chart and it looks great, you can't say for certain that it's going to go up from here. I just always stay optimistic and positive. This comes from USAT, Tether's new stablecoin. Sending money abroad shouldn't feel like theft. USAT skips the fees, skips the wait, the digital dollar for everyone. So now Tether is selling USAT as the digital dollar. The digital dollar is here. It looks like we have multiple digital dollars because we have multiple stable coins tied to the US dollar. And what they're actually doing is they're backing it with US debt. And then they're sending it to every corner of the planet that they possibly can. Because some people are tired of buying US debt. Now they need new buyers. That's why they want to take it into other countries. They also want to bring it to the unbanked. You know, I look at it like this. Eventually, we are going to see the US dollar lose dominance as well. A replacement is absolutely coming, and it's going to be an asset-backed currency. And no matter how you look at it, XRP is still going to move it. And that's the end game for XRP holders, because that's when we will actually get our true financial freedom or generational wealth. XRP could see large expansionary move within months. Investment research firm Sistine Research says. So they're expecting a major move on the price of XRP within months. But they don't tell you how high it's going to go. And I would agree with that. You know, a lot of people think this run is going to be over early next year. But the way you're starting to look at this whole cycle now, it looks like this cycle is going to be prolonged. How does XRP come back down with inflows through ETFs? How does XRP come back down with institutional adoption and regulatory clarity? I think this is going to be the craziest run we have ever seen in crypto. And I think utility-driven cryptocurrencies are going to lead the way. I think we're going to see a major shift in crypto once we get regulatory clarity. And this comes from Hugo Filion. I'm glad to work with Wiest, a gentleman and a scholar, and more importantly, deeply protective of the XRP community. Wiest Wind is creating a way for people to have a one-click style way to earn yield directly in Zalman Wallet via Flare F assets. Wiest Wind says, through trustless tech and trusted stack like Flare, he's happy to make it happen. I want to see how good this is. Wiest Wind, he's always been great, and he's part of the XRP community, a big part of the XRP community. I've never seen any issues with Zalman Wallet. I don't use it personally, but I've never really heard of any major issues with it. And the fact that he wants to make it easy for people to earn off of their XRP, I want to see how that goes over the coming months. But there's going to be so many different ways. I mean, every day somebody's talking about earning yield off of XRP. And a lot of these companies are popping up overnight now. And I think a lot of them are going to end up being rug pulls. I don't think this is going to be a rug pull, but there's a lot of shady companies all of a sudden showing up in the crypto space. And you always got to keep your crypto safe. But until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.